where news comes first. This is ABC-7 Extra.
Welcome to ABC-7 Extra Sunday. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Ross. We've been reporting on the devastating flooding in southern New Mexico and central Texas for the past couple of weeks. Tonight, we're bringing you extra perspective on the response to help the flood victims in Ruidoso. And later, we'll talk to a member of El Paso's delegation to Austin, who has been named to a House Select Committee on disaster preparedness and flooding. Plus, a meteorologist from the National Weather Service will join us to explain why we're seeing more instances of flooding in our area. We start tonight with an update on the continuing flooding problems in Ruidoso. And joining me now, Representative Gabe Vasquez, whose district covers all of southern New Mexico, including Ruidoso, and Ruidoso Mayor Lynn Crawford. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on ABC-7 Extra tonight. Congressman, I want to start with you first of all. You and the rest of New Mexico's delegation to Washington, along with Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, were able to get President Trump to declare the flooding in Ruidoso as a federal emergency. Explain to us what that means when it comes to a response by the federal government.
Thanks for having me on, Mark, and it's good to see you, Mayor. So the entire New Mexico delegation has been to Ruidoso, Lincoln County. The devastation there is tremendous, and it calls for immediate response, which is what we've been asking for from the administration. There's two different categories of emergency declarations, one which has been approved, a presidential emergency declaration, and we are asking now for a national disaster declaration, which significantly opens up bigger pots of funds, things like direct assistance to victims of the floods in different forms. What I've seen so far is a willingness to perhaps bring additional federal aid from the administration. But what I haven't seen is the adequate and timely response to our request and the mayor's request and the governor's request, because Ruidoso and Lincoln County is already due millions of dollars in assistance going back to the South Fork and Salt fires. Part of the reason we saw these devastating floods is because so much of that work hasn't been done because of the delay in those funds. And so we are calling on this administration to release the funds that have been promised to Ruidoso, have been promised to the mayor and the community that felt the impacts of this tremendous flood. We're going to keep working on that. But as of today, we've only seen minimal federal dollars come into the community for search and rescue and immediate assistance with FEMA coordination with local folks on the ground.
Now, Congressman, does this emergency declaration also include the Mescalero tribal land due to the flooding of the fish hatchery, or is that being handled by the Bureau of Indian Affairs?
My understanding is that those are different pots of money. There's several different federal funding here that is due to the community of Lincoln County and Ruidoso, and that includes $12 million from the U.S. Department of Agriculture through a program called NRCS for things like emergency watershed improvements that the community desperately needs. Part of the challenges is that if the city and the county cannot authorize these projects and bond these projects out with the backing of federal dollars, they're not able to make those decisions because they've got other things to pay for in those communities. And so that federal relief would be a big help. I did visit with the community of Mescalero, but this was pretty much the day after the flood and prior to some of the flooding that they experienced just a few days ago. So I'll be following up with them to see where that funding is coming from.
Mayor Crawford, I gather that you are probably still waiting for FEMA to come into the community and begin their work?
I'm sorry about that. I'm unmuted now. We did receive some FEMA assessors that did hit the ground day before yesterday. So they're out with our folks doing an assessment on the damage, trying to make that threshold so we get that national declaration of an emergency. So under FEMA statutes A, B, C, the individual assistance that the congressman spoke of. So they're on the ground right now working with our people. We expect that to come any day. The conversations that we've had with our congressional delegates and also with some folks on the Trump administration about getting these things moving forward. But the congressman's exactly right. The system, we've been dealing with this since 2008 on different floods, events. 2012, we had the Little Bear Fire and other. FEMA is just a difficult animal to work with because of all the red tape, the checks and balances. And so, we're looking forward to getting that funding in our hands. We have the contractors ready to go. We have a lot of projects that have been in the queue with FEMA District 6 out of Denton, Texas, under their CRC, which is the environmental portion of that. We have 30 projects that have been in there for months, and each project may have 10 roads, 15 culverts, or whatever. So there's a lot to it. We just got 17 of those approved, so now we can go out for engineering. So then we can finally get into one of those pots of money that the congressman was speaking of. So it's a complicated process, and nobody wants fraud, waste, and abuse, and I understand those things, but we really got to speed up those processes. And the state, if it was not for the state, we would be in a lot of trouble. The governor and our legislators have gotten together to get us some funding where we can start desilting, getting rid of imminent danger, debris that builds up in the bridges and the culverts. Because today we're expecting another big rain event. And so we're under a watch. We'll be under a warning here directly. So a beautiful day right now, people out walking their dogs, exercising, playing golf like nothing's happening. And then shortly we will be under a severe watch, and we will need to get to higher ground. And that's the day that we have every day right now during the monsoon seasons.
And I should point out that we are taping this program on Thursday morning before it airs on Sunday night.
Oh, okay.
That's no problem, Mayor. Mayor, is FEMA coordinating with the New Mexico Emergency Management Department, or is MAED taking the lead right now?
Well, the Department of, the DHSEM group is really taking the lead. They're coordinating directly with FEMA, other organizations. You have NRCS that the congressman spoke of, and then we have Army Corps of Engineers. So they're doing a lot of that coordination, but we're in the room. We're on the Zoom meetings with every meeting all day, every day, to make sure that we're ready to go. They ask us, what do we need? What's on the ground? So we push that up to Homeland Security, and then they take it forward to the feds.
Mayor, it seems like this has just been an endless cycle for Ruidoso. Wildfires one time, floods the next. How frustrating is it as mayor to have to deal with this?
Well, it's not something you sign up for, and I will tell you for sure, they don't teach you this at mayor school. When you get sworn in, there's not a whole book on these things. So it's very frustrating for myself, but the administration and our folks, you live under PTSD. There's always, when the clouds come up or they hear thunder, it changes your mindset and your attitude. So that's difficult. So we're preparing our people. We have a lot of mental health facilities and folks in town to help deal with that. But still, it's going to be there. But it is something else. And this is where the congressman and I agree. We've got to do something with managing our forest, thinning, taking care of, selective. The tribe that he mentioned earlier, the Mescaleros, are trying to get their mill back open. There was some funds allocated for that we could start selective logging in the forest to help thin this out so we don't have the catastrophic fires, which then when it ruins the soil for an extended period of time. And then when we get these small monsoon rains, they turn into massive floods. What we're experiencing right now is just our regular monsoon rains. And in fact, we're behind schedule on the amount of moisture that we've received.
And Mayor, you're reading my mind, because that's one of the topics we'll touch on when we come back. Still ahead, can Ruidoso take measures to lessen the flooding danger? Stay with us. You're watching ABC 7 Extra Sunday.